Assalamu alaikum, my name is Mufti Menk. Welcome to this peaceful corner, a sanctuary for hearts seeking light, trust and purpose. Here, we remind ourselves that rizq is written, peace is found in trust, and dignity lies in turning to Allah, not people. We'll walk together through lessons of tawakkul, sabr, dua and faith, learning how to work hard without fear, to let go so Allah can replace, and to rise through reliance on Him alone. If you believe that success begins with faith and ends in peace, then you're home. Subscribe, join our growing family, and let's journey toward barakah, contentment and trust in Ar-Razzaq. Before your first breath, before your first cry, Allah had already written your sustenance. Every grain you will eat, every drop you will drink, every opportunity that will reach you, it was all decreed before the pen even touched the tablet. You were never forgotten. You were never left to fend for yourself. The Lord who created you also guaranteed your provision, and not a single soul can take what was meant for you, nor can you take what was written for another. This is the peace of a believer, the tranquility that comes when the heart finally understands that rizq is not hunted, it is received. We live in a time where people run tirelessly after jobs, promotions, and positions, as if the world holds the key to their destiny. You see them restless, constantly scrolling, applying, worrying, comparing, doubting, and crying. But the truth is, what Allah has written for you will never require humiliation to attain. You will never have to beg for what He has already promised. The Prophet said, "Know that if the entire nation were to gather together to benefit you, they would not benefit you except with what Allah had already decreed for you. The world can only give you what Allah allows, and it can only delay you if He wills." When you realize this, something changes deep within. The anxiety that once chained your soul begins to loosen. The desperate chase begins to slow down. You stop running after the creation and start walking toward the Creator. The one who trusts Allah doesn't become lazy, he becomes calm. He works, but without fear. He tries, but without panic, because he knows that effort is his duty, but provision is Allah's guarantee. Many people confuse trust with stillness. Trusting Allah doesn't mean you stop moving. It means you stop worrying while you move. The bird leaves its nest every morning hungry, yet it never doubts that it will return with food. It doesn't have a business plan, nor savings, nor a job title. Its only plan is faith. The Prophet said, "If you were to rely upon Allah as He truly deserves, He would provide for you like He provides for the birds. They leave in the morning hungry and return full." This is not just a had, it is a divine blueprint for peace. Before you were born, Allah decreed your sustenance. He decided which doors would open and which would remain closed. Some of those doors you cried over, some you begged to open. But if they didn't, it's because Allah saw something you didn't. Maybe that door would have harmed your faith. Maybe it would have delayed your growth. Maybe it would have made you depend on people more than on Him. When you trust that Allah is Ar-Razzaq, the provider, you begin to see wisdom even in the waiting. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Ya Allah, guide me to what's best for me." Sometimes Allah withholds so that you may return. He delays so that your da'ah can mature, so that your faith can deepen, so that your heart can detach from the illusion that the world provides. He may take away a job to give you Jannah, remove an opportunity to grant you Sabr, and test your patience to purify your reliance. The believers who truly understand rizq see beyond the paycheck. They see the hand of Allah in every rise, every fall, every delay, and every ease. You might have seen two people, one earning millions, yet living in fear of losing it, and another earning little, yet sleeping in peace. The difference is not income, it is iman. The one who trusts Allah sleeps, knowing that no one can steal what was meant for him. His heart rests in remembrance, not in numbers. His soul finds peace, not in possession, but in submission. That's why the Quran says, and in the heaven is your provision and what you are promised. It's not in the market, nor in the company, nor in the economy. It's written in the heavens beyond the reach of people, beyond the power of your employer, beyond the limits of this dunya. Sometimes we make the mistake of believing our sustenance depends on the company we work for, or the boss who signs our check. But that's not true. The job is only the means, Allah is the source. When one door closes, another opens because Allah never stops providing. You may lose a position, but He'll replace it with peace. You may lose a client, but He'll send a blessing that fills your heart. Allah provides not only through money, but through love, health, tranquility, forgiveness, and guidance. Rizq isn't just what you have, it's what nourishes your soul. When you remember this, your entire approach to life changes. You no longer wake up chasing, but trusting. You wake up saying, Ya Allah, you wrote my rizq long ago. Let me find it with contentment and gratitude. And when something doesn't come, you no longer break down in despair, because you know what's meant for you will reach you even if it's beneath a mountain. And what isn't meant for you will never come even if it's between your hands. So take the steps, make the dua, apply for the job, strive with sincerity, but leave your heart in the hands of the one who provides for the ant under the rock, the fish in the deep sea, and the baby in the mother's womb. None of them know where their next sustenance will come from, yet they never go hungry. Why should you, the servant of Ar-Rahman, doubt His plan for you? Remember, Allah is not late, He is precise. His timing is mercy disguised as delay. Every closed door is preparing your soul for something greater. Every unanswered prayer is storing reward you cannot yet see. Every waiting period is polishing your trust until you finally say, I know my rizq is written, and my Lord never forgets me. When your heart rests on this truth, the noise of the world begins to fade. You stop competing for what was never yours, and you start finding barakah in what already is. You stop rushing and start relying. You stop begging from creation and start whispering to the Creator. So today, walk with dignity. Don't chase your sustenance, let your sustenance chase you. Trust the promise of the one who wrote your story before you were even formed. The same Lord who gave you life will never deprive you of what you need to live it. What's written for you will come, not by the speed of your chase, but by the strength of your faith. And when you finally understand that, you'll stop running after the world, because the world will begin to run after the one whose heart rests with Allah. Your job, your degree, your network, they are means, not masters. They are tools placed in your path, not the source of your survival. Yet how often do we forget this? How often do we bow to the means, while the source of all means watches silently, waiting for us to remember Him? When you begin to believe that your income, your boss, or your qualifications are what keep you alive, you start living in quiet slavery to creation. But when your heart bows only to the Creator, you walk in true freedom, freedom from fear, from desperation, from the anxiety of losing what was never in your control. Allah, Ar-Razzaq, is the provider. He feeds every creature that walks upon the earth, and He does not forget even the smallest ant crawling under a rock. Do you think He would forget you, the one for whom He shaped the universe? The Quran reminds us again and again, indeed, Allah is the best of providers. Surah Al-Jumu'ah 62:11. Not your company, not your degree, not your connections, Allah. Your job is a vessel, but the ocean that fills it is His mercy. If He decides, He can fill your cup from the most unexpected waves. Sometimes Allah uses the means, a job, a business, an opportunity to provide for you. But other times, He removes those means to remind you that the source was never the job, it was always Him. How many people have lost everything yet found themselves sustained in ways they never imagined? How many have been rejected by one company only to be guided to something purer, more fulfilling, and far more blessed? Allah doesn't close a door except to open one that leads closer to Him. The world may delay your provision, but Allah never forgets your name when it is time for His decree to unfold. We live in a time when people worship the illusion of control. They believe that if they plan perfectly, network endlessly, and work tirelessly, they can guarantee success. But the truth is humbling. No matter how hard you try, not a single thing moves without His permission. You can send 100 applications and receive silence from all, and then suddenly one door opens with ease, not because you are skilled, but because Allah said, "Be," and it was. There are those who place their entire worth in worldly recognition, in titles, in approval, in applause. But your rizq is not tied to how much people admire you. It's tied to how much Allah provides you. Some of the richest people in the world have hearts drowning in fear. They depend on numbers that can vanish overnight. But the one who depends on Allah finds peace even with less, because he knows his sustenance is written, guarded, and delivered by the one who never breaks his promise. When you start to see Allah as the true source, your relationship with work changes. You no longer see your job as your lifeline. You see it as a bridge. You work with excellence, not because you worship your career, but because you worship Allah through it. Your sincerity turns labor into worship. You stop chasing promotions for pride and start working for purpose. And when you lose something, your heart doesn't shatter because it was never attached to the means. You say, "Alhamdulillah, the giver has something better for me." There's a hidden mercy in detachment. The more you detach from the means, the lighter you become. The less you expect from creation, the more you receive from the Creator. When your job becomes a test, your faith becomes your rescue. When people let you down, Allah lifts you up. When the world turns away, He draws nearer. He whispers through your trials, "Didn't I sustain you when you had nothing? Didn't I guide you when you were lost? Didn't I bless you when you least deserved it? Then why do you fear now?" Trust is built in moments of loss. When you have nowhere to turn and yet your heart still whispers, "Ya Allah, you are enough for me," that's when the heavens open. Allah loves the servant whose eyes are on Him even when every door seems locked. Because when you stop depending on the means, Allah Himself becomes the means. Provision flows from where you never looked before. The Prophet taught us that true richness is not in possessions, but in the contentment of the heart. If Allah is in your heart, the world can't make you poor. If Allah is absent from your heart, no amount of wealth can make you rich. You can earn millions and still feel empty. You can lose everything and still feel full. Because the soul doesn't feed on money, it feeds on remembrance. There are people who wake up every morning terrified of losing their jobs, their followers, their income. They treat people as if they control their destiny. But those who trust in Allah wake up with peace, knowing that the only approval they need is His. They still work, they still plan, they still give their best, but their hearts remain untied. They don't lose themselves in chasing results. Their effort is worship, their calm is faith. And when Allah decides to give, He doesn't need your degree, your status, or your reputation. He can elevate the unknown, feed the forgotten, and bless the broken. He can take a person who had no connections and make them a source of light for thousands. He can send rizq through love, through strangers, through opportunities that never crossed your imagination. When He provides with wisdom, and when He withholds with mercy. Maybe what you are chasing is not delayed, maybe it's being prepared. Allah doesn't deny, He refines. He aligns your heart, cleanses your attachment, and teaches you to turn your gaze upward. When He finally gives, you are ready to receive it without arrogance, without forgetfulness, without the illusion that it came from you. So when you make dua, don't just ask Allah to provide through your job, ask Him to provide through any door He wills. Ask Him for barakah, because barakah turns little into abundance. Ask Him for contentment, because contentment turns scarcity into peace. Ask Him for closeness, because closeness turns trials into blessings. This world will constantly tell you to depend on yourself, but the believer smiles and whispers, Has, by Allah, Allah is sufficient for me. The world will say, it's impossible, and you will reply, for Allah, everything is possible. That's the difference between worshipping the means and trusting the source. The first fills you with fear, the second fills you with faith. So remember, your job is a blessing, but not your provider. Your degree is a tool, but not your guarantee. Your network is a path, but not your sustainer. The hand that feeds you is unseen, but it has never stopped giving. Allah is Ar-Razzaq, and when you connect to Him, you will never be disconnected from provision. Because the moment your heart bows to the source, the means will bow to you. Work with excellence, but detach your heart from the outcome. Strive, but never beg. Effort is your test, Rizq is His promise. This is the balance that every believer must find, the harmony between action and trust, between effort and surrender. You were created to work, but you were never created to worry. The world teaches you that success comes from relentless struggle, from sleepless nights and endless chasing. But Allah teaches that success comes from sincerity, from effort rooted in faith, and from a heart that knows who truly provides. The believer doesn't sit idle waiting for sustenance to fall from the sky. No, he works, he plants, he builds, he tries, he endures, but his heart remains light because his hope is not tied to people. His worth is not tied to results. His eyes are not fixed on numbers. His soul is fixed on Allah, the source of all. When he works to please Allah, not to prove himself to the world. When he succeeds, he says Alhamdulillah. When he fails, he says Qadar Allah wa ma sha fa'al, Allah decreed, and he does what he wills. This is the secret to peace: to work hard, yet stay detached, to give your best, yet never lose your heart to the outcome, because the outcome was never yours to control. You can plant 1,000 seeds, but only Allah decides which ones will grow. You can knock on every door, but only He knows which one will open. You can plan every detail, but only He writes the story. The Prophet taught us that hard work is worship when done with sincerity. When you work to provide for your family, when you strive to earn halal income, when you do your job with honesty and excellence, every act becomes ibadah. Even the sweat on your forehead becomes reward. Because Allah loves the believer who tries, but He loves even more the one who tries and still remembers that success is from Him alone. But when you attach your heart to people, you become a slave to their approval. You begin to beg in silence for validation, for opportunities, for recognition. You start lowering yourself to creation instead of raising your hands to the Creator. And when people disappoint you, your entire world collapses. That's the tragedy of misplaced trust. You were meant to lower yourself to Allah, not to people. Because when you lower yourself to Allah, He raises you. But when you lower yourself to people, you break. Allah says in Surah Talaq, whoever places his trust in Allah, He is sufficient for him. This ayah isn't a theory, it's a promise. It means that no matter what you're chasing, if your trust is in Him, He will take care of what you cannot. You might not see the path, but He's already paved it. You might not understand the delay, but He's already written the perfect time. The believer doesn't panic in uncertainty, he smiles through it, because he knows that the one who carried him this far will never abandon him now. Hard work is a test, not a transaction. You don't work to earn Allah's favor, you work to express your gratitude for it. Your rizq was written long before you started striving for it, Every ounce of effort you make is simply a means for you to reach what's already yours. Allah could have provided for you without any effort, but He loves to see you try, because through your effort, your heart learns humility. Through your striving, your soul learns patience. Through your exhaustion, your doer becomes pure. So do your best, but never let desperation pollute your effort. Desperation comes when you believe the outcome depends on you. Faith comes when you believe the outcome depends on Allah. You might fail 10 times, but the 11th will open not because of luck, but because of decree. You might see others succeeding with less effort and wonder why your path is harder. But remember, Allah customizes each test. He knows exactly what you need to learn before He grants what you seek. Sometimes, Allah delays success to purify your intention. If He gave you what you want too soon, you might forget who gave it. So He withholds not to punish, but to protect. He teaches you that your hard work should not turn into arrogance, and your effort should not turn into entitlement. He reminds you that even the smallest blessing comes only through His mercy. And when you finally receive, your sujood becomes deeper, your gratitude stronger, and your heart softer. Working hard is not about chasing wealth. It's about honoring the blessings you've been given. When you work with ice and excellence and sincerity, your actions shine as a reflection of your faith. The believer works not because he is desperate to achieve, but because he is grateful to serve. Every act becomes an offering. Your words, your skills, your patience. Even your silence becomes worship when it's for the sake of Allah. Look at the Prophet, a man chosen by Allah, yet he worked. He traded honestly, helped the poor, carried stones when building the mosque, tied stones to his stomach when hungry, not because he doubted Allah's provision, but because he lived with purpose. His work was never fueled by fear, but by trust. His effort was worship, his calm was faith, and that's what it means to be a believer, to walk into your day with effort in your hands and trust in your heart, to give your best in every task, but to leave the results to the one who never fails. To never beg for opportunity because you know the one who wrote your destiny doesn't need reminders. To never fear losing what was never meant to stay. The world may measure success by outcome, but Allah measures it by intention. A failed attempt done with sincerity can be more beloved to Him than a grand success done with arrogance. He looks at your heart, not your achievements. So even when your work goes unnoticed, when your efforts aren't appreciated, when your prayers seem unanswered, remember, none of it is wasted. Allah sees it all, and He rewards not by results, but by sincerity. Keep working, but keep your heart free. Keep striving, but keep your trust firm. When you work for Allah, every hardship becomes ease, every setback becomes training, every delay becomes preparation. He is sufficient for you in every moment, in every effort, in every breath. Because when you work for Allah, even if the world rejects you, the heavens remember your name. Every morning the bird leaves its nest hungry, uncertain of where its sustenance will come from. It doesn't have a map, a plan, or a guarantee. Yet it flies calm, free, and full of trust. It doesn't sit still waiting for provision to arrive, nor does it panic wondering if it will find any. It simply moves with conviction that the one who provided yesterday will provide again today. That, my dear brother and sister, is Tawakkul, faith in motion. The bird does not rely on its wings, it relies on the one who gave it wings. It doesn't rely on its eyes, it relies on the one who guides its flight. This is how a believer must live, to walk, to work, to strive, but with the heart anchored in Allah, not in effort. The Prophet said, if you were to rely upon Allah as He truly deserves, He would provide for you like He provides for the birds. They leave in the morning hungry and return full. Termid, He 2344. Notice, the bird leaves, it takes action. It doesn't wait in the nest expecting food to fall from the sky. It trusts while it moves. It acts with belief, not with fear. It works, but its heart rests. This hadith teaches us that reliance upon Allah is not passiveness, it is peaceful action. It means that you do your best, but you do it without desperation. You wake up, you make your effort, you knock on doors, you send your applications, you use the skills Allah has given you, but deep inside, you know that provision doesn't come from effort alone, it comes from qadr, from the decree written long before your existence. Your work is your obedience, not your assurance. Your peace lies in the certainty that your rizq is written, and no one can eat from your share, just as you cannot eat from theirs. Many people confuse hard work with worry. They think being anxious about tomorrow means they're being responsible, but the one who trusts Allah knows that anxiety doesn't change decree. Worrying doesn't add a grain of rizq. The only thing that grows from fear is restlessness. Tawakkul, on the other hand, feeds peace into your soul. It's when you say, Ya Allah, I'll take the steps, but you decide where they lead. I'll spread my wings, but you carry me where I need to go. The bird never questions the delay. It never blames the wind. It simply flies in the direction it is guided. Sometimes the sustenance is near, sometimes it is far. But the bird always returns full because Allah never forgets it. And if He never forgets the bird, will He forget you, the one who prostrates to Him, calls upon Him, and carries His words in your heart? The same Lord who sustains every living creature in the depths of the earth, the sky, and the sea, He is the one who sustains you. When you truly live with tawakkul, you stop chasing life in fear of loss. You start walking with peace in the face of uncertainty. You realize that everything you seek already knows your name. It's written to meet you at the right time, in the right way, when your soul is ready. The delay is not denial, it's design. Allah may hold back a blessing because He knows your heart isn't ready to carry it. He may close one door because behind it is a test you're not meant to face. Tawakkul means believing that even what doesn't make sense now is part of a plan far wiser than yours. Sometimes Allah lets you taste emptiness so you can taste the sweetness of His mercy later. He may let you feel hunger not to punish you, but to remind you that only He satisfies. He may let you struggle, so your dua becomes sincere. He may withhold, not to harm you, but to shape you into the kind of believer who doesn't depend on outcomes, only on Him. The bird trusts that sustenance will come. The believer trusts that good will come, even if the form of it is unseen. Tawakkul doesn't mean life will be easy. The bird still faces storms. It still flies against winds. It still gets tired. But even in exhaustion, it trusts that the one who gives wind can also calm it. The believer too faces storms, rejection, loss, uncertainty, disappointment, yet his heart remains steady because his trust is not in the weather of life, but in the Lord who controls it. You may be struggling today, but that struggle is seen. Allah knows the hours you spend trying, the tears you shed in frustration, the nights you lie awake wondering what's next. Every heartbeat, every breath, every effort is recorded, and not one will go unrewarded. When your heart is full of trust, you no longer measure success by outcomes, you measure it by obedience. If you did your best, if you were sincere, if you trusted Allah, then you've already succeeded, no matter what the result looks like. The bird doesn't boast when it finds food, nor does it despair when it doesn't. It just keeps flying because it knows the giver of rizq is always watching. You too must keep walking, keep striving, keep making dua with calmness in your chest, with certainty in your voice, with faith in your heart. The beauty of tawakkul is that it turns effort into worship. When you tie your camel and trust Allah, your work becomes a testimony of your faith. The Prophet said, "Tie your camel and trust in Allah." He didn't say trust without tying. This means you take action, but your reliance is in Allah, not in the rope. You don't say, I've tied it, so it's safe. You say, I've tied it, and safety comes only by Allah's will. This is the fine line between dependence and surrender. One binds you to worldly effort, the other binds you to divine peace. When you look at the world today, you'll find many who plan everything but trust nothing. They build safety nets from fear, not from faith. They think security comes from strategy, when it comes only from sujud. They fear losing what was never theirs, and in that fear, they lose themselves. Tawakkul frees you from this. It gives your heart room to breathe again. It teaches you to work hard, but to sleep peacefully. To try, but not to tremble. To take the means, but not to worship them. Allah loves those who rely on Him. Indeed, Allah loves those who put their trust in Him. Surah Al-Imran 3:159. Imagine being loved by the one who controls everything. What more could you need? The one who trusts Allah never loses, because even loss becomes a lesson, and every delay becomes direction. You might not understand it now, but when Allah unfolds the story, you'll realize every step was guided by His mercy. So wake up like the bird. Leave your nest with effort, but carry faith in your wings. Let your soul rest in the knowledge that what is written for you will never miss you. Don't let fear control your steps. Let trust lead them. You don't need to see the destination. You just need to believe in the one who leads you there. Because when you fly with trust, you will always return full not of wealth, but of peace. You were not created to beg at the doors of creation. You were honored to call upon the Creator. There is no greater dignity than the moment you raise your hands to Allah, knowing that you are speaking directly to the Lord of the worlds. No permission required, no appointment necessary, no conditions except a sincere heart. The moment you turn to Him, He listens. The moment you whisper His name, He responds. This is the honor of a believer, that his needs are carried not to people, but to the one who created people. When you seek from creation, you walk in humiliation. When you seek from the Creator, you walk in peace. The heart that depends on people will always live in disappointment. You will keep waiting for responses that never come, for help that never lasts, for love that fades with time. But the one who depends on Allah finds fulfillment in every moment. Even when the world turns away, Allah remains near. He says in the Quran, "When my servants ask you concerning me, indeed I am near. I respond to the call of the caller when he calls upon me." Surah Al-Baqarah 2:186. This is not just reassurance, it's an invitation. Allah is telling you, come to me directly. Don't lower yourself for creation when the Creator is waiting for your voice. You were created with honor. You were designed to stand tall in servitude to Allah alone, not to kneel before those who cannot even control their own breaths. When you chase people's approval, you lose your dignity, but when you chase Allah's pleasure, He clothes you in strength. The world might not see it, but your heart will feel it. Every act of trust is a form of worship, and every act of desperation before people strips away your peace. The Prophet said, "Whoever seeks to be independent, Allah will make himself sufficient." Bukhari, Muslim. True richness is not in the hand, it is in the heart. There is something sacred in the moment you stop chasing the world and simply say, "Ya Allah, you are enough for me." Those words carry the power to change everything. Allah never abandons a servant who relies on Him sincerely. He may test you, but never to humiliate you, only to elevate you. He may withhold, but not to punish you, only to purify your dependence. Because when your heart becomes free of the need for people, it becomes worthy of the nearness of Allah. When you find yourself begging people for help, remember who you are asking. They are as needy as you are. They are as powerless as you are. The one who provides for them is the same one who provides for you. Why chase the drops when the ocean is waiting? Why run to those who cannot even fulfill their own wishes when the one who says be, and it becomes, is ready to hear you? When you lower yourself to creation, you hand them the keys to your peace. They begin to decide when you're happy and when you're broken. But when you lower yourself only to Allah, He raises you in ways people cannot touch. Every sajda becomes a throne of honor. Every tear becomes a testimony that you sought help where true help resides. The Prophet once said, if you ask, ask of Allah, and if you seek help from Allah. Tirmidhi. These words carry a freedom no worldly philosophy can offer, the freedom of knowing that your dignity is preserved, your worth is guarded, and your hope is anchored in the one who never fails. Sometimes Allah allows you to taste rejection, so you stop begging from the wrong doors. He lets people ignore you so that you realize that only His door remains forever open. He lets you lose what you thought you needed, so that you finally realize that what you truly need is Him. Each heartbreak, each delay, each silence is a redirection, a reminder that true provision, true comfort, true relief come only when you call upon the one who never sleeps. People might tell you that asking from Allah isn't practical, that you must depend only on yourself, that the world doesn't work that way. But remember, the world is run by the decree of Allah, not the logic of man. Dua is not a last resort. It is the strongest form of action. It's the believer's weapon, his bridge to the unseen, his whisper that shakes the heavens. When you make dua, you're not talking into the air. You're speaking to the one who controls it. You're not escaping reality, you're reshaping it with faith. How many times have we begged people and felt smaller afterwards, and how many times have we begged Allah and walked away feeling stronger? That's the difference between humiliation and humility. Begging from people breaks you, begging from Allah rebuilds you. One leaves you empty, the other fills you with light. The moment you say, Ya Allah, help me, the entire universe shifts to align with His command for you. You may not see it instantly, but the unseen world begins to move in your favor. Angels carry your supplication, time unfolds according to His wisdom, and the answer arrives wrapped in mercy. Trusting Allah doesn't mean you never ask for help from people, it means you never depend on them. You use the means, but your heart remains with the source. You accept help, but you know it was Allah who sent it through them. You thank the giver, but you praise the giver behind every giver. That's the beauty of trust, it purifies every relationship. You become kind without expecting in return, generous without fear of loss, patient without despair, because your heart rests on a foundation that never shakes. The one who trusts Allah walks with quiet dignity. You can see it in their eyes, a peace that doesn't depend on circumstance. They don't compete for approval. They don't fear rejection. They don't chase attention. Their strength lies in their sujood, their confidence in their dua, their serenity in their trust. Because they know something that the world has forgotten, that when Allah is near, no distance can harm you. When Allah supports you, no one can break you. Sometimes the greatest gift Allah gives you is separation from people who made you forget Him. Sometimes He hides you from the world so that He can show you your worth in His sight. The world measures you by what you have. Allah measures you by who you turn to. The world honors power. Allah honors humility. The world sees tears as weakness. Allah sees them as sincerity. So don't ever feel small when you raise your hands in dua. Don't ever feel ashamed to ask Allah again and again. Every time you call upon Him, He turns to you with mercy. Every time you whisper His name, He remembers you in a way greater than you could ever imagine. And even when you fall silent, He knows the prayer that trembles inside your chest. Allah says, call upon me, I will respond to you. Surah Ghafir 40:60. This is not a suggestion, it's a promise. The one who created your voice is waiting to hear it. The one who shaped your heart is waiting to fill it. Don't beg from creation when the Creator has already guaranteed your provision, your peace, and your honor. Because when you stop pleading with people and start trusting Allah, you rise from the dust of desperation to the dignity of divine dependence. You can't receive what's written for you if your hands are clinging to fear. You can't hold on to the past and still expect the future that Allah has already written for you to unfold. Sometimes the very thing you refuse to let go of is what blocks the blessing meant for your heart. Allah in His infinite wisdom asks you to release, not to hurt you, but to prepare you for something purer, something greater, something unseen yet perfectly timed. The heart that trusts knows when to fight and when to surrender. To surrender to Allah is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. When you hold too tightly to what is leaving, you tell Allah through your actions that you don't trust His replacement. You fear the emptiness more than you trust His promise to fill it. Yet Allah never takes without giving back. He never closes a door except to lead you to another that opens to peace. But for you to walk through that new door, you must release what was behind it. Allah says, perhaps you dislike something, and Allah makes therein much good. Surah An-Nisa 4:19. The good you are asking for may not look like what you wanted. It may come wrapped in loss, in waiting, in redirection, but hidden within, it is the answer to prayers you once made in tears. Letting go is an act of faith. It's saying, Ya Allah, even if I don't understand, I trust you. It's when your heart whispers, if it's written for me, it will find me, and if it's not, then you will replace it with something better. The believer learns that control is an illusion, that no matter how hard you hold, nothing stays except what Allah wills. You can't force what's not meant for you, and you can't lose what was decreed for you. What's written will find you, not by force, but by faith. There are moments in life when Allah takes something precious, a job, a friend, an opportunity, a dream, and your heart aches in confusion. You wonder, why me, why now? But what if that loss is mercy in disguise? What if that pain is purifying your heart for something you cannot yet see? The believer doesn't say, why did this happen? He says, what is Allah teaching me through this? Because faith is not built in comfort, it is built in surrender. You might feel like you're breaking, but maybe Allah is breaking the walls around your soul so that light can enter again. Sometimes the storm doesn't come to destroy, it comes to clear your path. You keep praying for Allah to make things easier, but sometimes He's making you stronger instead. Every tear, every disappointment, every delay is part of your journey towards something better. He says in the Quran, it may be that you dislike a thing and Allah brings through it a great deal of good. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:216. The good may not appear today, but one day you'll look back and say, Alhamdulillah that it didn't work out my way. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop controlling. It's trusting that Allah's plan is far more perfect than your desire. It's knowing that the hand of Allah never moves in haste nor by mistake. You may think you need something, but Allah knows what will harm you. You may think something is over, but Allah knows it's only being rewritten. Sometimes, what feels like the end is only the beginning of a more beautiful story, one that couldn't start until you let go. Every test that asks you to let go is also a test of your love for Allah. Do you love Him enough to trust His decision? Do you believe that what He has planned for you is better than what you planned for yourself? When Prophet Ibrahim was commanded to leave Hajar and their baby Ismail in the barren desert, he didn't question Allah's wisdom. He didn't argue or doubt. He let go, and that act of trust became the foundation for a miracle that billions remember every year. Zamzam flowed from the place of surrender. The greatest provision came from the moment of letting go. The same Lord who brought water from the desert can bring peace from your pain. But first, you must open your hands. You must release the fear that grips you. You must let go of resentment, of attachment, of the belief that you know better. Allah's decree is not against you, it's for you. He removes not to deprive you, but to direct you. He delays not to frustrate you, but to purify your reliance. And when the time is right, He gives in abundance. If you only knew how carefully Allah plans every chapter of your life, you would never hold on to what He has already written to end. Sometimes the waiting feels endless, and the silence feels unbearable, but that silence is Allah reshaping your destiny with mercy. He is preparing you for something greater, molding you through patience, testing your heart to see if you trust Him beyond what you can see. Because when you let go for His sake, He replaces not just what you lost, He replaces your sorrow with peace, your confusion with clarity, your emptiness with purpose. Sabr is not passive, it's powerful. It's the quiet strength that says, I may not have what I want, but I trust the one who withholds. It's choosing dua over despair, gratitude over bitterness, hope over fear. It's believing that Allah never forgets the hands that rise to Him in the darkness of the night. When you let go of your pain in sujud, He gathers it and transforms it into blessings in ways you'll never imagine. So release what you cannot control. Release the person who left, the plan that failed, the dream that broke. Let go of the burden of why, and hold on to the certainty of who. Allah is Al-Latif, the most subtle, the one who works in ways you cannot perceive. The moment you surrender to Him, you give permission for peace to enter your heart. The moment you stop trying to force what's not meant for you, what is meant for you begins to move toward you. And when Allah replaces, He never replaces equally, He replaces better. The Prophet said, you will never leave something for the sake of Allah except that Allah will replace it with something better. Ahmad. Maybe He'll replace your loss with contentment, your loneliness with His nearness, your confusion with guidance, your pain with reward that outlasts this world. Allah never takes except to give, and what He gives lasts far beyond this life. One day, you'll look back and realize that every goodbye, every unanswered prayer, every disappointment was part of the journey that led you closer to Him. The things you cried for will become the reasons you smile in gratitude. You'll see how perfectly everything was timed, how what you thought was delay was actually protection, how what you thought was rejection was redirection, how what you thought was the end was the beginning of peace. So breathe, let go, let Allah replace what you cannot. Trust that every loss you endure is making space for a gift that can only fit when your heart is free. You are not losing, you are being prepared. You are not forgotten, you are being shaped. You are not falling apart, you are being rebuilt by the one who knows how to mend you better than you know yourself. Because when you finally let go for Allah's sake, He replaces what you lost with something your heart didn't even know it was praying for. May Allah fill your days with peace, your efforts with barakah, and your heart with trust. Until next time, keep your faith firm, your heart soft, and your hopes with Allah. Wassalamu alaikum.